Welcome to Module 1.2. My name is Saba Kaleem, and I am a corporate lawyer at Castles, Brock & Blackwell based in Toronto. Today, I'm going to be walking you through business registration and necessary licenses. Before you're able to operate your business, you need to ensure that your business has the required registrations, licenses, and permits to operate in its relevant jurisdiction. First, you will need to determine the type of business you would like to operate and how you will structure this business. Once this is decided, you will need to register the name of your business. In this module, we will provide you with an overview of the options of ownership structures you may wish to consider when setting up your business, as well as the pros and cons of each. It will provide an overview of how to pick and register your business name. And finally, it will bring your attention to the various licenses and permits required to operate your business in Ontario. There are 3 types of business structures that are worthy of consideration for our purposes. First, we have a sole proprietorship. A sole proprietorship is an unincorporated business that is owned by one individual. It is the simplest kind of business structure. The owner of a sole proprietorship has the sole responsibility for making decisions, receives all the profits, claims all losses, and does not have a separate legal status from the business itself. Next, we have a partnership. A partnership is a legal arrangement that allows 2 or more people to share in the responsibility of a business. Those partners share the ownership and profits, but they also share the work, the responsibility, and potential losses and liability. Lastly, we have incorporation. A corporation is a separate legal entity. It can enter into contracts and own property in its own name, separately and distinctly from its owners. Here, we will take a closer look at the pros and cons and the necessary requirements if you choose to run your business as a sole proprietorship or as a partnership. Now that we have established what a sole proprietorship is, let's review some advantages and disadvantages of operating a sole proprietorship. As far as advantages go, you have full control of the company. Think of the company as a further extension of yourself. A few examples of what full control looks like includes you having full control on the products and services offered. You have complete control over how profits are spent, reinvested, or saved. You choose how to run day-to-day business. It can also be easy and more affordable to set up. In addition, there are tax benefits, for instance, deducting losses and expenses from personal income. Lastly, and likely most importantly, is you earn all the profits. It does come with some disadvantages as well. For instance, you are personally responsible for all debts and losses. Your personal assets can be at risk. Creditors could, for instance, take your personal assets and your business to pay debts. Business income is also taxable at your personal rate. All in all, the key takeaway is that a sole proprietorship is something where you are not separate from your business. Partnerships are a less common form of organization. There are a couple types of partnerships that we'll talk about. First, the general partnership. This is the most common type of partnership, where all the partners share in the business's profits, losses, and liabilities. In a general partnership, each partner is fully liable for the business's debts and obligations. For general partnerships, absent a partnership agreement that says otherwise, if the partners cease to operate, they will each split 50-50 in the assets and liabilities of the partnership. Next, we have a limited partnership. This is a partnership with at least one general partner and 1 or more limited partners. Limited partners have limited liability, usually based on their contribution to the partnership. Lastly, in a limited liability partnership, this is a partnership where all partners have limited liability. This is a type of partnership that is only available in some provinces and is usually only available to certain professionals, such as lawyers, accountants, and doctors. Some of the advantages include an easy and more affordable setup, partners that bring different values to the business, sharing the profits and losses between 2 partners, and tax benefits. Some disadvantages may include that all partners are responsible for the profits and losses, and it may be difficult to find the right partner. It's important to remember that a sole proprietorship and partnerships are not a corporation. Therefore, they are not given an automatic corporate number, and they are not expected to register a business name. However, sometimes the business will be required to register their name even if they are a sole proprietorship or a partnership. And here's why. If you choose to name your business after your full name, then you don't have to register it. Let's use me as an example. If I owned a company that sold hair ties and I named it after myself, Saba Kaleem, then I wouldn't have to register the name. However, if I decided to not name it after myself and wanted to name it Color Me Hair Ties, then I would have to register the name under the Business Names Act, which is the governing act in Ontario for name registrations. Please remember that if you're going to name your business something other than your full name, then you need to check the requirements under the Business Names Act to ensure that your chosen name complies. An example of a requirement under the Business Names Act is that your name can only include letters from the Roman alphabet. If you choose to name your business something other than your full name, you will need the following things to satisfy the registration requirements. You'll need your business name, your information, or if you're in a partnership, then both yours and your partner's information, the NAICS business code. Every business has a respective code, so you will have to go through the list and find which code best suits your business. This can be found on the Statistics Canada website, registrant information, a filing fee. Operating your business through a corporation allows individuals to invest in the business without risking their personal assets beyond their investment shares. Some advantages are that shareholders have a limited liability. You can transfer ownership of the business by selling your shares to the new owner. There are tax benefits. The business name of an incorporated company has greater protection than it would with a sole proprietorship, for instance. You'll have more access to grants. However, there are some cons of incorporation, such as it can be a bit more costly, and the tax rules are a bit more complicated generally. It also requires annual filings and maintenance of corporate records. When deciding to incorporate your business, it's important to decide whether you want to only register your business provincially, meaning your business is only operating in Ontario, or if you would want to register your business federally. Let's look at an example to help you decide. For instance, I own a corporation that sells custom shoes, and I know I will only ever sell shoes in Ontario. Then there is no need for me to register federally. If, however, I can predict that I may want to expand my business to sell custom shoes all over Canada, then it may make sense for me to register federally. Some questions to consider in making this decision include, do you plan on expanding your business? If so, it may be best to register federally. Will your business operate in one province? Then it may be easier to only register in Ontario and focus on complying with those registration requirements. This is because it's simpler and more cost-effective. Is your name available? Once you register your business name federally, no one in Canada can use that name. However, if you register your business name in one province, then you may not have as much protection if someone in another province wants to register a similar name. It's also important to note that if you want to register federally, you are still required to register extra provincially in each province that you are carrying on business in. Does it fit your business's tax strategy? There may be certain tax breaks depending on where you register and operate. What are your industry regulations? Check to see what you would need for your specific business if you were to operate in different provinces. Here are a couple questions to consider when picking a name for your corporation. Is your name distinctive? This means that the name sets your business apart from others. Is your name misleading? If a regular consumer were to walk by and see your name, would it pass off as another business, or would it suggest that your business offers services that are completely different than your business's actual services? Is it easy for the consumer to understand? Does it have a suffix to make it clear the business type? For instance, if you are a limited liability company, does it have LLC at the end? Does it include any prohibited terms such as Parliament Hill or RCMP? The name must also not include names that suggest governmental or institutional sponsorship or control. A great resource to use is the NUANS. It is a report that you can generate online, and it shows you if your name is already in use. This is just an example of the report. In terms of filing requirements, if you are incorporating your business only in Ontario, then you will need the following: articles of incorporation, a filing fee of $300 plus $60 for the name registration, a business name search report, a separate business bank account, and any other supporting documentation that you may be asked for. If you're incorporating your business federally, then you will need the following: articles of incorporation, a filing fee of $200 filed online, the contact information for all members of the board of directors, your office address, your business name search report, a separate business bank account. You may be wondering, what is articles of incorporation? Articles of incorporation are legal documents that officially create a corporation. It is a public record that includes basic information about the company, such as the name, its purpose, and its structure. Usually, a corporation is comprised of directors, officers, and shareholders. A director is a senior-level leader who oversees the strategic direction, operations, and performance of a company. They are responsible for setting goals, developing plans, managing resources, and ensuring alignment with the vision and values of the organization. Directors are appointed by the shareholders of the corporation. In Canada, 25% of your business's directors must reside in Canada and be Canadian citizens or permanent residents. They have a duty to act in the best interest of the company and its shareholders. The officers of a corporation are responsible for the day-to-day operations of the corporation. Officers are appointed by the directors and together with the directors form the management of the corporation. Common officer roles that you may be familiar with include the president, the CEO, the vice president, treasurer, and others. Lastly, a shareholder is an individual, company, or legal entity that owns shares in a corporation. Shareholders have a claim on a portion of the company's assets and earnings proportional to the number of shares that they own. Shareholders are usually divided between common and preferred. The main difference between common and preferred shareholders are: common stock gives shareholders voting rights, while preferred stock does not. Preferred shareholders have priority over a company's income, meaning they are paid dividends before common shareholders. Common stockholders have voting rights in proportion to their ownership stake, while preferred shareholders often lack voting rights. Preferred shareholders have a greater claim to the company's assets than common shareholders. Before we discuss licenses and permits, it's important to discuss what they entail. Permits are typically temporary or conditional authorizations for a specific activity or purpose. Licenses are more of a permanent form of permission, often required for professional activities or businesses. Both the federal and provincial government offer a platform called BizPol that is designed to help entrepreneurs and business owners in Canada by providing a streamlined process for identifying permits, licensing, and regulations applicable to their specific business activities. We've now come to the end of our module. Thank you so much for learning with me.